Herald-Times sports editor Chris Korman here, joined by Dustin Dopirak.
Yep.
Inside the halls, Alex Bozich is nearby.
He didn't want to be on today.
But no, actually, we couldn't afford his fee. Actually.
Yeah, it got pretty hefty last time.
Yeah. What I don't tell you, D, is that I have to pay out when we have a guest like that. And
yeah. And it came out of my paycheck.
Well, no. If I could do that, then we'd have him on, and he'd work for us.
Be
actually,
about that.
Yeah. If I could just get rid of your I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Indiana today loses 66-60 to Illinois in a game that I think has probably got to be pretty disappointing for fans.
Very much so.
Because Indiana really sort of controlled the first half. Illinois was utterly awful in that half. But Indiana did some things to capitalize on it and played smart, played like it needs to play without Maurice Creek, moved the ball around, got contributions from different guys, found Jordan Hulls open for threes, got Christian Watford in the spots where he can score, did all that it needed to do, and then second half
didn't do any of that.
Did not have the pretty much the emotional fortitude is what I wrote in my column. Just could not stop Dimitri Mukami and Mike Tisdale, two guys who've played a lot of basketball at the Big Ten level, who've really developed into good players who can really hurt you multiple ways. Just could not stop them. I think Mukami had 19 points.
Mukami had 19 points.
But the 9 to 1, assist turnover ratio was the big thing. And then Tisdale
was just absolutely solid.
Had 27, and 13 of those came from the line, where he was 13 for 14.
Yeah,
and that became huge. The foul discrepancy in this game and the free throw discrepancy was huge.
39 to 18, and 28 to 17 on the fouls. 39 to 18 on the foul shots. All those obviously made a difference. But I think and people are going to talk about the fouls a lot, because you always talk about officiating. But I mean, I thought just the biggest difference was, Indiana kind of panicked. Illinois didn't. I guess that's one thing, too. They talked about... I think so. I think you saw a lot of rush shots. Verdell Jones was just saying even after, he's like, we got away from what we did right in the first half. We didn't trust the offense. We had guys take shots that were out of character. And I think, I don't know if they were necessarily out of character, but they were stuff they didn't want to do. Devin took a couple really deep threes. A couple other guys did. There were some forced drives. Christian Watford had one late in the game that was just, he just never really seemed to have any direction. He was just going at it, just driving towards the basket with no real direction or real idea what he wanted to do once he got there. And I think there was a good bit of that in the second half. And Illinois just looked like, okay, we've been down double digits before, and we've won games where we're down by double digits before, and they did the smart things you have to do. They kept getting the ball to Tisdale, made good passes, made smart plays, got better ball movement than they did in the first half. And they did the things that you need to do to win games close and to come back. And Indiana it seemed like they panicked as it started to get closer and closer. A couple guys, it seemed like they wanted to take over and, say, okay, we got to get a bucket now, we're going to do this or whatever. And if they weren't being patient like they were in the first half, everything they did well in the first half is not what you saw in the second half. Right.
And obviously a lot of the same problems that we've talked about on so many other videos popped up. Indiana has no recourse. They were getting holes open for threes early in the game because Illinois was helping a lot off of them.
Right.
Illinois adjusts and changes the way that it's
not there anymore.
Changes the way it's guarding and figures out what it can do in the paint. And Indiana's guys down low are all of a sudden in foul trouble.
Right.
And that changes the way that it's played. And Crean just does not have the people right now to really dictate the way a game's going to be played. He can't change it.
You're right.
Watford, like you said, that one drive, I think it was with 26 seconds left, Indiana down 3. He really went hard at the rim, which is what you want a guy like Chris Watford to do. You want him to say, I'm going to take this game on my shoulders and I'm going to go get this bucket that our team needs. And he's probably made that drive, 100 times in high school and AAU, and each time he's finished with his fingers on the rim and the ball through it and points on the board. It's not happening this time. He had two arms waiting for him. He's just not there. He's not strong enough. He doesn't have the reputation where teams are going to back off from him because they think he might hit a jumper. They were sitting back and waiting and knew
just waiting to
knew that he was going to do that.
Really, when he got in there.
Right, and so it's still sort of at that point where Indiana can't make those adjustments maybe that Crean wants to. I'm sure that fans are going to be as critical as they were after the Ohio State game, which was
in a different fashion, but obviously, I guess the one thing that had to be pointed out was, the Ohio State game didn't snowball from this. They definitely did come out, and it was obviously good for them that the way their schedule's working out right now is just home road, and that's probably a really good thing for them because when they if they have a game like that on the road, they get back to Assembly Hall quickly and get comfortable. And they obviously were. I mean, they played with the passion and the intensity that they absolutely did not have against Ohio State. But eventually it just stopped working. So I mean, that obviously, as much as Indiana fans are not going to be happy with the way it ended, they at least say, okay, they played like a regular basketball team again. But I mean. Yeah, it's going to be, you're going to get criticized when you have a 15-point lead and you can't hold it. It goes away at home.
Right. Crean clearly, well, I don't know if clearly is the word, but certainly I think was disappointed with the way the game was called. Illinois, a lot of ticky-tack things. Indiana just seemed to be getting called for anytime they wanted to be physical, which was interesting because really what Crean emphasized all week and what he said after the Ohio State game was that we're not physical enough. And I think a lot of the fouls, I asked Jordan Hulls, I said, were some of those fouls due to you guys trying to be more physical, trying to push back, trying to do the things the coach wants you to? And he said he didn't think that was the case. He thought it was more a case of laziness,
in the wrong place.
Using hands instead of using feet to defend. I'll tell you what, Jordan Hulls is pretty schooled. Talker, pretty smart kid. I think he knows what to say. I think there was some of that striking in the balance, trying to figure out what it means to be physical. And to be fair to Tom Crean, or to point this out, the Big East is a lot different. It's a much different conference. It's a different style of basketball. Some would say, the cynical might say, that it actually has a style of basketball where the Big Ten is pretty much a slogfest, especially when a team like Illinois is going to come into Assembly Hall and have to try to find a win. They're perfectly content slowing it down and running at you and lowering the shoulder.
Exactly.
Right. And so there's some adjustment there from Crean, I think, and to figure out how those games are going to be called, and how they're going to be played, and
what's going to be a foul, what's not going to be a foul.
Right. And certainly saw that. Another interesting facet of this game, I think, that I sort of touched on in my column a little bit, and it dawned on me late, is Brandon Paul, who's a highly recruited guard and highly touted guard for Illinois, only played 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And to me, the thing about that is that Crean still cannot do that. He talked after the game, and we made the mistake of asking why Bobby Capabianco started instead of Tom Pritchard, and got the typical answer from Crean, which is that that's all based on practice, and it's based on what he sees, and he goes by feeling, and don't try to self-analyze him based on who he starts and all that. But clearly coaches send messages with that sort of thing. Bruce Weber admitted that not starting McCamey was sending a message.
Exactly.
It was telling him, well, it's also with a guy like Brandon Paul, who has a ton of talent, sometimes you just need to sit him down and say, here, why don't you watch this and see what you need to do to be effective. And Crean cannot do that with Christian Watford. No. He does not have the option of saying, Christian, we're only going to play you 8 minutes, because one, who is Watford going to watch on the floor that plays like Watford? And doesn't have another guy who can show Watford the way. And two, they can't afford to sit Watford. That's not an option. So the way Crean has to coach is a lot different than what it's still not a normal basketball program.
But not even somebody like Watford, where he's clearly, now I think the Creek's gone probably the most purely talented guy on the team.
Sure, no doubt.
You can't even do that with Pritchard. We don't know exactly what the reasoning was. I mean, at the very least, apparently Capabianco must have outplayed him this week, if nothing else. I mean, and he, in his own way, Crean kind of said that. He said it was based on practice, so that is kind of what it means. But you can't, Pritchard still plays 19 minutes.
Right.
Capabianco plays 21.
The message was, you'll come in after 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how much is that really, hurting you or whatever? I mean, does it go as an actual punishment? No. I mean, and he's, just from his play on the court and everything, he has not been happy enough with Pritchard all year. But again, it's not like you can just put him on the bench, and leave him there. I mean, Capabianco hasn't been good enough that you could just say, go play 35 for me. And obviously, your next options are Tijan and Bawa, and Elston playing the 5. So it's not an option with any of these guys. That you can just say, okay, well, if you don't practice well, you're not going to see the court. You're still going to have to see the court because somebody's got to play. Right.
So the ups and downs continue. I think it's what anyone expected, and sort of all anybody could expect from this Indiana team where it is, and it's been interesting to try to cover, that's for sure, and we'll continue to do it starting tomorrow, I guess. But as for tonight, go enjoy yourselves. Have a good weekend. Talk to you then. Bye.